Hello, good day to you. Welcome back to our presentation class. And on this episode, I'm going to discuss the third unit of our book. And the topic is about organizing a presentation. As usual, before we begin, I'd like you to listen to audio recording as you read the script on this slide.
Audio
Audio
3.1.
3.1.
Good
Good
morning,
morning
and
and
thank you all for coming.
coming.
As you
As you
know,
know,
the lease on our offices is due to run out next year, and we're going to have to relocate. I'm going to begin by going through the three proposals that have been made so far. This should only take about 2 to 3 minutes. After that, I suggest we discuss the pros and cons of each option and then vote on which one you feel would be the best.
Okay, so that's the first part of the presentation. Now, let's see the opening of her presentation. As we have discussed in our previous meetings, the formula of the opening a presentation is applied in this example. So here she starts by greeting her audience, and then she thanks her audience for coming. Now, you see that she doesn't introduce herself. That's probably because the audience and the presenter are already familiar. This is probably an inter-office presentation, manager with the staff. So there is no need there is no need for speaker's introduction. But she then explains the purpose of her talk. As you know, the lease on our office is due to run out next year. And this is something new. She informs her audience the duration of her talk. This should only take about 2 to 3 minutes. So this is a new thing. We're going to learn why in the later part of this slide. Now listen to the second part of the presentation.
Which one you feel would be the best?
Please
feel free to interrupt me at any
time,
time,
by the way.
So, firstly, it has
it
been
has been
suggested that we move to the new business park on the outskirts of town. Secondly, we could find office space to rent in the town centre. Thirdly, we could look at relocating to a different area altogether, perhaps in purpose-built accommodation. So, I suggest we have a show of hands to see.
After informing the audience about the duration of her talk, she signaled the audience about Q&A. Signaling audience on interruption matter. So she talked about Q&A, that the audience can ask questions in the middle of a presentation, which means they don't have to wait until presentation is over. And after that, she describes the organization of her presentation. And as you can see on the script that there are 3 things that she is going to talk about. Firstly, it has been suggested, etc. Secondly, we could find office space, etc. Thirdly, we could look at relocating, etc. So that's how you describe the organization of your presentation. How many things you are going to talk about? 2 things, 3 things, 4 things. Your audience has the right to know about it. In our earlier meeting, we have learned the formula of opening a presentation. And they are already memorized by us. Greeting your audience, thanking your audience, introducing yourself, explaining the purpose of your presentation, and additional one, describing the organization of your talk. Now, let's start first with beginning presentation. You can start your presentation by, I'll start by showing you a video of our competitor ads. Or I'm going to begin with the sample product on this desk. I'm going to begin by asking questions to you. These are some of the several expressions you can use to begin a presentation. So you don't have to really start directly with the topic that you have in hand. You can start by something else, showing a video, asking question, or uh, showing an object and ask your audience questions about the object. When you are done with beginning presentation, then you need to describe the organization of your presentation. Here are some of the expressions you may use. This presentation is divided into 3 parts. I have divided my presentation into 4 parts. There are 3 issues that I'm going to talk about. These are the expressions. You may use them interchangeably. You can say 3 parts, 4 parts, 3 issues, or you can use synonym such as there are 3 matters. Now mind you that when you use these expressions, use them in a variety way. So be creative. Don't use one expression all the time. Try to substitute one expression with another expression. And as you can see here on the examples, I limit the points in your presentation from 3 to 4. Don't try to talk more than 4 ideas in one presentation because first of all, you may not have enough time. Secondly, your audience probably don't even remember more than 4 points. So if you do your presentation, try to limit yourself from talking too many ideas. Limit to 3 or 4 ideas. More than 4, it will be difficult for you to master your presentation, and it will be difficult for your audience to remember your presentation. This is an example of organizing a presentation. Suppose the topic is about company outing. Then the presenter say, I'll start by explaining the purpose of outing. Then I'll show 3 options of outing destinations. Finally, I'll describe the proposed activities for company's outing. So these are the phrases, the key phrases you can use to introduce your ideas. I'll start by. You can use synonym begin. I will begin by. And then for the second idea, you use then or next. Next, I'll show the 3 options. Finally, or one last thing, I'll describe the proposed activities. So be creative in using the transitional words for describing organization of ideas in your presentation. A new thing in our discussion is about duration. Nowadays, most presenters always inform the audience the duration of their presentation. This is very important because your audience need to know how long they should listen and watch your presentation. And also, they need to know whether they have enough time for Q&A. My presentation is going to be about 15 minutes, or I'm going to speak for about 10 minutes. I'm going to spend 10 minutes on this. So let's say you have 30 minutes for presentation, and you tell your audience that you are going to spend 10 minutes for presentation. Then your audience can calculate that they will have 20 minutes for Q&A. Now, it is very important for your audience to know how long your presentation is going to be. It is their right. So tell your audience the duration of your presentation. Limit yourself to 20 minutes. Q&A is always a big part of presentation, because your presentation will not be able to cover every detail. That's why you need Q&A. In Q&A, presenter and audience will have more time to go into details for everything that the presenter talk about. So if you want to signal your audience whether they have Q&A, you may say, please feel free to ask questions at any time. Or, please interrupt me at any stage. The first two expressions are good if you are a professional presenter, that you have a lot of presentation experience. The problem with this expression is, if your presentation time is limited and you allow your audience to interrupt you for asking questions, then I'm afraid that you will not be able to finish your presentation on time. Probably you can only do half of the presentation, and the rest of the presentation you cannot execute it because you spend too much time answering questions from your audience. So I suggest that you ask your audience nicely to postpone their question after you finish your presentation. To do that, you may use expressions, I would be grateful if any questions could be left until the end. Or, please hold your questions until the presentation is over. So these expressions are better because by postponing the question at the end of your presentation, you will have sufficient time to finish your presentation. Then you can spend as much time as possible to answer questions or to spend the time discussing your ideas with your audience. It will be better. In my experience, sometimes the questions that audience have actually will be answered in your presentation. They ask question because you haven't finished your presentation. But if you have finished your presentation, probably they will not ask you too many questions because you have provided all the answers. So my idea, finish your presentation first and tell your audience to ask questions after you are done with your presentation. Now, we're going to listen to another extract of presentation. Listen as you read the script on the textbook.
Audio 3.2.
As you know, I've been asked to speak to you today about the implications of the forthcoming merger on working conditions here at Metley Logistics. I'll start by going through the new leave procedures. After that, I'll look at appraisals. And finally, I'll focus on staff training and development. My presentation will take about 5 to 10 minutes. Please feel free to ask questions at any stage. Right. Let's get started. Let's get started. As I just said, there will be some changes to annual leave. You will now be entitled to 25 days holiday a year, which you will be able to take when you wish, provided that you give 4 weeks' notice. You'll also need to fill in one of these new forms and ask your line manager to sign it before handing it to HR. Moving on now to appraisals. It has been decided that all staff will have an appraisal with their line manager twice a year. Nothing else has changed. The aim of the meeting is for you to have a chance to discuss your work over the past 6 months. Your strengths, weaknesses, what's gone well, your training needs, and so on. Your training needs, and so on. This brings me to my final point. Staff training and development. In a moment, I'll hand out the sheet for you all to take away. It lists all training courses available to staff. You should discuss your training needs with your line manager and which courses you wish to attend, up to a maximum of 3 each year. If you wish to book now, please see me after.
Well, that was the presentation from Medley Company. I'd like you to review the presentation extract from Medley Company Manager. You may push backward this video and watch it from the beginning of his presentation, and then analyze the structure of his presentation, starting from how he begins the presentation, the opening structure, how to inform duration of the presentation, organizing the ideas in his presentation, and how he elaborates the idea one by one in his presentation. Listen and study and take a look at and pay attention to the key expressions for introducing ideas. Well, thank you for watching this video. If you haven't understood my explanation, please watch it again from the beginning. Watch this video as many times as you can, as possible, until you get an understanding of our discussion in this unit. It is also, I allow you to ask questions to me, or to find another reference from other presentation video that you can find on website on internet. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next episode.